with those sweet melodies that welcome us to another exciting episode of Gauteng Life, your premium channel where we speak everything tourism, creative economy, the arts, lifestyle, as aggregated into the creative sector. We are here as indicated on the backdrop of the celebration of National Human Rights Day in South Africa, the day that also popularly known as Sharpeville Day, an important and historic day, a day that really started shining attention to the real world, the global world, about the atrocities that get perpetuated by the apartheid regime right here in South Africa. The 1965 massacre here in Sharpeville will forever remain in our hearts. In studio, I'm joined by one of the storytellers, the protagonists, one of Batho ba Mu in these specific spaces, Ntate KC Ruele. He was with us yesterday as we were at Kosikolong, Tlansikolong, and he has been part of assisting the youngsters that are putting this together. Ntate KC, as you are popularly known here, welcome to Gauteng Life.
Thank you very much for your welcoming, Barba. I'm very happy, I'm very exhilarated, I'm excited.
Indeed, today it's that special day. So for you, what does Sharpeville Day, or this Human Rights Day as we now call, mean for you, especially as this is your roots where everything started?
It means quite a lot of things, because when I grew up, I was told the story of Sharpeville by my parents, and they explained it, how it started, how it happened. But when I'm fully grown as an adult, I had to look at it differently and try to draw a picture of what could be happening in the minds of the people. And it was the day where people were going out to go and protest about the reference book which the past don't pass at a point in time. And then it ended up going people being shot on that particular day, and then a number of people died on that day. But I want to explain a few things on this thing. Recently, it has just been discovered that people are not 69 who died, were a number which was 69. But there was somebody in the 80s who said to us that along the Voka Cemetery, there's a big grave which was dug for people who were not known, who couldn't be identified, people coming from the hostels, especially who were working for the rainwater, working for Eskom, working for Ascoval and Asco Clip. And those guys who were in Sharpeville that day were not identified. They were taken to that creepy grave, and even today, the grave was not being identified. Nobody ever said anything about the grave. And then, on addition, is that the Freedom Park in Pretoria has just added some few names to show that the number is not 69, the number is bigger than that.
Yes.
So when you look back on, if you make a line between those you know, those you don't know, it's when you start to realize this was more deeper than the way we thought. But today, if I have to reflect back the last 65 years of this day, I became excited and happy that there's a new movement who says Sharpeville is not a massacre. We don't come to the funeral every year. We come in to commemorate, and people must be ignited. People must be motivated and be shown that there's always life beyond the tears.
Yeah.
So we need to do something beyond the tears. So this movement of Sharpeville is not a massacre. It's something that tells that beyond tears there could be life. So I'm here to celebrate that. Above all the things, I want us, the youth and the young people in this part of the world, should look at life differently and take it upon the bait themselves, and let's do something differently.
Surely after 65 years, even in our own households, as we interact with our families, our departed, we tend to celebrate the lives of those departed.
Yes.
And appreciate that the gift of life, because we came through them.
Yes.
If they were not there, we would have not been there.
Yes.
And we start moving from mourning to celebrating. And I guess this is the message you are trying to punt home, without necessarily underplaying the importance and the significance of those that got shot, or those that got injured, or those that got limped.
Yes. Yeah, by all means, you are 100% correct. So we need to forge a way We need to educate our young people. We need to change. Unfortunately, today in South Africa, the role of two things, the self and the mind, is not being catered for.
Yeah.
So young people today, in terms of their mind and the self, is not being catered for. So that's where the problem it is. But from a layman point of view, if I stand on pulpit and preach, I always want to educate and disseminate information that beyond any other storm, there's a rainbow which comes and says God has passed it and do something about it. Clean up the mess and soldier on.
So yesterday we were there at Tlansekolong at the VUT,
Yes.
an important institution that is part of this specific area. How important is it that we bring on board institutions like the universities, our universities of technologies, institutions of higher learning, and our broader learning facilities, such that because their job is to transmit and empower and educate, how important is institutions like these in the telling and the sharing, not just of Sharpeville story, but the story of our painful past, but also shaping how we should respond in reimagining the way forward?
Look, tell the truth, something is wrong in South Africa as a country. Firstly, the VAL Tech was formed purely to empower the white people, to make sure the ISCO, ASCO VAL, ASCO CLEP, because there was a war of the Anglo-Boer War.
Yeah.
Of the Anglo-Boer War. Then the Afrikaner started ISCO. And the division ISCO becomes an ESCOM.
Yeah.
And in this region, there were 5 ESCOM power stations, if you remember.
Yes.
There was Reden on R59, there was Highveld on next to R51, R57. There was also Highveld and Highveld and Tybos. There was also Fusionstrift. So on that side of the river, there were 3. So there were 2. There was a Reden, plus was Vredendal power station, which could not live, very, very long. But all those power stations were there to address the issue of the white poverty and white empowerment and white preservation rights. When we took over in 1984, we didn't form such institution that could preserve.
Yeah.
And that also make the mind to be lost of a youth of a point in time. So the youth, even today, are still not well directed in terms of how to capture and work on in the future. So we are trying in our level best to shape and change, but we don't have institutions that are there where they can earn money and wake up in the morning and do something. We have churches which are not playing a role which they played at a point in
Previously,
time.
yes.
Previously.
Yeah.
So we are a bit lost, part of lost people in a part of the things which are, there's a revolution going on, but nobody's awake to respond to the revolution. So there's a problem of how do we address the revolution? And it cannot be witnessed by anybody. Nobody can witness it, but the revolution is on.
Yeah. And it's the revolution, I guess, of the need for education. It's the revolution which needs to be guided so that it's based on education and sound knowledge of where we are coming from, so that it can then achieve the ultimate objective. And institutions of higher learning becomes important now, as the old Valtech has now transitioned into Val University of Technology, and us and you guys hosting that seminar, that session yesterday at Val University of Technology. I guess it was part of also starting to share information and knowledge about the history of this place and how institutions can take it forward.
You're correct. But institutions at that level are very at a high most level. Let's talk about the base of primary base of education. Let me give an example of where we are today. We are in a street where previously before 1966, this street, it was dividing between the colors and the blacks.
Yes, you did tell me.
So the blacks
story, yeah.
were on the west, the eastern side was the blacks. The colors were on the western side. So the influence control at the time was making sure that blacks won't just cross the street to come to the house in the front opposite of the house. people don't know that. So how do you shift the mind and make the mind be aware that we are in an area where things were happening, the real thing was happening, the law was very practical in the street. Second, when you go further on the street, there's a police station, the clinic, the post office, the library, the shops, and the bottle store. All those things came because it was supposed to be nearer proximity of the colors.
Yes.
On the eastern side of it, we have the swimming pool, which was the first in South Africa to be built, which was predominantly for the colors. So, people
Umgababa Beach, where it was the only one allowed where black people could go
to the beach.
So Reaga the base.
Yeah. So in Sharpeville,
yeah,
the swimming pool was only for the colors. But came time in '69, colors were forced to move out of those places to go to Sharpeville. So the swimming pool, we benefited.
We inherited the swimming pool. Yeah.
Automatically, it was there
but
for us.
But the river, so we basically actually
river has
knew how to swim.
River is complex. The Val River on the bank, it's not the same like all the rivers. You don't walk into the water.
Yes.
On the bank, it's cheap, it's deep. And in Vereeniging, the Val River is the most deepest part where it is. So nobody could just swim easily. Unless you go further down the river where in Paris, you can cross, even walk on the river.
Yeah.
And the water is very cold in the river, and thirdly the river runs very fast. So nobody can just swim in across or in another way because of those three issues, which are natural issues. We cannot. But the river is being beneficial because it provided the first ISCO was built, ASCO Tlep, ASCO Val, and it came ESCOM.
Yeah.
That's why it built more of the power stations there because of the water. And in 1836, when Andis Putri arrived on the bank of the river, on the side of the river, he found out that there's coal here.
Yes.
You know, he man just stand up there and said something to the food trader, said, guys, we must come back here and come dig. And they came later on, then they found there's no coal here. So the coal afforded ESCOM, and also the coal afforded the building of ISCO, you know, and those things just happened in those time. And today we are 65 after the massacre, but we're almost about from 1892.
Yeah.
Vereeniging has been here. So all those things have worked very hard to see to Vereeniging has become a place. But Sharpeville, as a town, was supposed to be only for 70 years.
Yeah.
After 70 years, people supposed to be moved to what is currently spoken now.
Okay.
But the council of that time refuses, and the FW, who was the MP for National Party, and a lawyer around there,
yes,
who helped people that Val should not move in 1974. So we are here on the what's called, we are here on the water swamp. This place where we are, there's two things: there's water and there's coal here.
Wow.
Where we are now, there's water and coal.
If there's water, it is coal.
Hey.
That means
but
those are the important things that powers electricity.
Mr. Bedworth, who was the founder, Bedworth was named after him, who in 1881 said, don't debase the river, because it will mess up people in Jan Camp, Christiana, and Bloemhof.
Yeah.
So for people saying Bloemhof and Jan Camp and Christiana, we cannot do anything to debase the river. So we could not change the shape of the river. So whatever is here, we should also take in consideration that whatever you do, don't mess up, because there's people down then the way the river goes down the river. So we are caught up in between the cat and the mouse in terms of how the river should be shaped, and how should the economy of the Val should be shaped in terms of looking at the river and look at where it is. But Sharpeville as it is, if you look all the houses which are built in 1942, others came in 1945, all of the water have water mark from underground.
Oh, yes.
So there's water coming up.
Yeah.
But hey, being here in 2025, let's celebrate and have a joy and look.
But tell me more, man. I want to hear more about this street. And I was looking. This street is not
the same size.
Same size like
it's bigger.
It's big. It's wide.
Yeah, broad. It's broad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So putsa hori, mo dagi so nelita ka mo to check am ba makhala.
Dagi were in the east. Colors were in the west.
Yeah.
So in the night there were no police to monitor that. People used to do their own thing. Yeah. That's why we have people who are lighter complexion in this place. Yeah. And that's why they still have colors. People who are colorful.
So they're really busy.
Yeah, people are busy. We're very busy. We're very busy. We're very busy.
Very telling and exciting story. How do we turn this piece of information, package it into nuggets and sound bites, where young people of today, those that are watching us and listening to us, could start appreciating this before, God forbidding, you guys depart this world?
Look, the issue of Africans from the prehistory, there was story of storytelling all the time. If people could say this homo,
Yeah.
Mamelang, all the people to
Dinani, before, after dinner, Adula, Mamela story.
So there's no more function where people, families can gather together or community can gather together and communicate and storytelling.
Yes.
That's unfortunate, but the opportunity that I have with me, I disseminate the information. I tell people that God said earlier on that the street where we are used to divide. People should know that we are in a street which influence control was manifested in the street.
Yeah.
And then the one last thing that I want to say about Vervoet. Vervoet in 1962, he said the original address. He said to the African, he said, dames and here, a Friday toestem om toe te kry, om na die sortes te kry, die drank by gewoon gebied. Omdat as ek kan die drank kry, die verslag sal kom op die tydperk of 50 jaar se tydperk.
What does that mean?
Give blacks alcohol to drink, so that in 50 years' time, the result will come about what alcohol will do to them. So whatever you see happening around town, around Sharpeville, around every township in this country, it was manifested from 1962 when Vervoet on State Nation of Address get that, and he addressed that later on when he went to Bloemfontein, when he stood on top of the table, said, "Ek staan op 'n tafel, and my food is op 'n tafel se nek." So all those things have manifested today, and black have allowed that to happen.
So so how do we, like Abos Chaba, Elebo Aubrey, have decided to turn the negativity associated with Sharpeville around? How do we turn even that?
I think
we are not what Vervoet prophesized, manufacture, and started perpetuating and evangelizing, so that the current generation, through your wisdom and the generation of you guys and those that came before you and us, can start reorientate, decolonize, and as one of the elders said yesterday, how do we decolonize ourselves?
The issue with Valtech and University of Northwest here, it should be happen that we should be as stakeholders. There should be held more community stakeholders with them, so that there should be a life coaching training of people, so that storytelling must be more emphasized and reiterate and be more. We should become vigor and strength that people should learn stories and should listen to stories. Could be in a boardroom, could be outside the boardroom, could be a classroom, could be at any other level of school.
Could be the podcast like this.
So that people should know stories of the Val and stories of this entire South Africa, that alcohol was used, promotion of segregation of tribes was used, and lack of good education. Not necessarily, the people that taught us quite a number of things which were good, but they said they were not good to us, which were good things. So how do you change that mentality? So we need people who could come and address that no, rivers have not changed names, mountains have not changed names, countries have not changed where they are, because we only know that Upper Volta today is Burkina Faso.
100.
Quite a number of countries in Africa change names, but we should know that it didn't change the size of Burkina Faso. It's the same Burkina Faso. You don't need to learn more about Burkina Faso. There are quite a number of countries that you find that it was only the name changed because of time. So we need to change with time also. So we teach people the right thing. We don't change anything. We just change the way you talk. Whatever comes of content must be changed, must be clarified, may not be polished and be made more suitable for somebody in the street out there.
So in as we wrap up our conversation, a little bit about Mr. Sharp, because people don't even know that Sharpeville is named after Mr. Sharp.
Mr. Sharp came to Vereeniging working for Stewards and Rights because of the steel industry.
Yes.
Stewards and Rights became the biggest company to make steel from Ascot clip, from Ascot Val and Ascot, to make a final product to be used, to make fans, to make pipes, to make rods, to make wire to build houses. So Sharp came here and he decided to help people move from top location to Sharpeville. So with Semi Max, they clubbed together and he became the mayor. But he became instrumental in terms of giving that. But Semi Max was behind. Mr. Sharp was in the front. Semi Max was behind.
Yeah.
So Sharp and Semi Max were, and Sharp came from Scotland. And after that, he went back home. He gave them feedback. Then they opened up set up in Scotland where there can be Sharpeville issue can be told in Scotland in their own terms, in their own language, in their own setup. So Sharp has made something for us in Scotland, which is there even today. We need people to go and visit that to know the story of how Sharp came, how St. Mark's worked, how the 3 farms were bought to make Sharpeville to be one farm, become Lakeville farm and become a township. So we still live in even if you go this office, this place still not, we're still not sure this is a township or a farm. Because the Lakeville farm is still there.
Yeah.
So Mr. Sharp helped to shape the movement from top to Sharpeville for 20 years. The movement started 1938 to 1958, which is exactly 20 years of movement of people.
Yeah.
And then type of houses that we see now, the same place where we are, there's type of 5-room that the house that we have there. They have a 2-bedroom, a dining room, which is called dining room, and a kitchen, but there's a bathroom. When you go inside the bathroom, there's what you call soloro.
Yes.
Which is something on top.
On top.
That was meant in an event, anything happened, Sharpeville must be there must be a second house on top.
On top, yes.
So it was meant, and they thought the colors will be the beneficiary of that.
Wow.
So they didn't stay long, and they left. But we stayed solar, which was not developed.
Wow.
So Sharp had an idea of making us the double-story houses. However, he was in the part, but he had an idea of making us to be better people.
So Sharp and Semi Max.
Yes.
The Semi Max Square that is there in Pretoria.
Yes.
Ki Chomiya Sharpeville.
Semi Max come from Sharpeville.
Absolutely.
His parents come from Vereeniging.
Wow. So you've heard it. So when Ntate KC Utsipi Yamo Valimu.
Okay.
So when lead these boys, Sharpeville is not a massacre. Kelefa challenge. Let's go to Scotland. Let's go and reintegrate that Sharp space that he has built. Let's get them to come and pay for their dues.
Yes.
Not in a manner that is confrontational, in a manner that represents the true essence of Sharpeville, of this place being the cradle of human rights. It's a challenge. I'm throwing it back to you.
Thank you. But just to add, 2 things that happened in South Africa, or 3 things happened. There was a stage where Sharpeville had, in boxing as a sport, we had all the champions of this country. Could bantam, could any except heavyweight, lightweight, flyweight. We had the South African champion were in Sharpeville. Sharpeville secondly had the most soccer teams than any other township in South Africa.
Yeah.
When Sharpeville was only meant for 12,000 households, but we had more soccer teams than any other township. Our second township was Katla, which came second from us, and later on came Soweto. But we had the most number of soccer teams.
Now I understand why Relebohile Mofokeng achis also.
Okay, all right, okay.
Now I understand.
Okay, you're most welcome.
Because what she's had.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Sharpeville had more soccer teams.
Yeah.
Had more boxing athletes, which were soccer sportsmen. We had a more first swimming pool, which a lot of people didn't produce. And among the high schools, Lukwashanu was among the first in the townships, because when we was formed, there was no high school in Katleho, there was no high school in Randfontein. They used to travel to come to Vereeniging School, which was came in Lukwashanu. It was Randfontein came, which was Lukwashanu. Later on, and some of teachers were transferred from Lukwashanu to Randfontein Mutlake. So we produced what you see as a high school in Mutlake. What you see as Natal Spring, as JC holders, Steve holders, they were produced from Sharpeville before they could be anywhere else. So people don't realize that we have made history and we made some trends and we have been there, we have been around. It's only that we saluted and say, so therefore what? In terms of storytelling.
Yeah.
The story must be well made and be packaged correctly, so it must be well told.
Ntate KC, we can talk, me and you, about this, your passion, your love, and tenacity about this place shines through. And those who are watching us wherever in the world can really bear testament to this.
All right.
So thank you very much for coming through. We joined in, started this session together, and we are departing now more wiser, empowered, and educated. And I guess that's what's going to continue. And that's what this movement, Sharpeville, is not a massacre. And you guys, as the collective, are trying to do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that said, that was another segment of Gauteng Life coming through from Sharpeville, right in the streets here as we commemorate Human Rights Day. Until the next episode, second round.